Have you ever felt like your energy is fading faster than it used to? Or maybe you've noticed that certain people in your life seem to drain you more than they lift you up. It's something many of us experience, especially as we get older. After 70, life takes on a different rhythm, doesn't it? You start to realize how precious your time is, how important it is to protect your peace, and how much you want to surround yourself with people who truly add value to your days. But here's the thing, some relationships can actually take away from that sense of peace. And today I want to talk about 6 types of toxic relatives that seniors should be mindful of avoiding after 70. These are the kinds of people who might unintentionally or even deliberately make your life harder, not easier. Now, before we dive in, let me just say this isn't about cutting people out of your life left and right. Family is family, and there's always room for love and understanding. But at this stage in life, you've earned the right to prioritize your well-being. You've spent decades giving to others, caring for others, and making sacrifices. Now it's time to focus on what makes you feel good, what brings you joy, and what helps you live your best life. That's why recognizing these toxic behaviors is so important. It's about protecting your peace so you can enjoy every moment you have left. In this video, we're going to explore each of these 6 types of toxic relatives one by one. My hope is that by the end, you'll feel empowered to set boundaries, make choices that support your happiness, and maybe even mend some relationships along the way. So let's get started with the first type of toxic relative, the guilt tripper. The guilt tripper is someone who uses emotional manipulation to get their way or make you feel bad for not doing exactly what they want. Maybe it's a sibling who constantly reminds you of all the times they helped you in the past, or a child who says things like, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this." Sound familiar? Guilt tripping can be incredibly draining because it makes you second-guess yourself and feel responsible for other people's emotions. And while it's natural to want to avoid conflict, giving in to guilt trippers only reinforces their behavior. So, how do you deal with a guilt tripper? The key is setting clear boundaries without engaging in their drama. For example, if a relative tries to guilt you into attending an event you don't want to go to, you could say something like, "I understand where you're coming from, but I need to take care of myself right now." Keep your tone calm and firm, and don't over-explain yourself. Remember, it's okay to say no. You're allowed to prioritize your own needs, especially at this stage in life. If the guilt tripper continues to push, remind yourself that their reaction is about them, not you. You're not responsible for managing their feelings. That's their job. Now, moving on to the second type of toxic relative, the constant critic. This is the person who always seems to find fault with everything you do. They nitpick your decisions, judge your choices, and make you feel like nothing you do is ever good enough. Perhaps it's a cousin who critiques your cooking when they visit, or a nephew who rolls their eyes at your stories about the good old days. Being around a constant critic can chip away at your confidence and leave you feeling defensive or anxious. Over time, it can even affect how you see yourself. Dealing with a constant critic requires a bit of finesse. One effective strategy is to simply acknowledge their comments without internalizing them. For instance, if a relative says something critical, you can respond with, "I hear what you're saying, but I'm happy with the way things turned out." By staying neutral and composed, you take away their power to upset you. Another option is to gently call out their behavior in a non-confrontational way. You might say, "It feels like you're being a little hard on me. Is there something specific you'd like to discuss?" Often, critics don't even realize how their words come across, and bringing it to their attention can sometimes prompt them to reflect on their actions. Now that we've covered the guilt tripper and the constant critic, let's move on to the third type of toxic relative, the energy vampire. Energy vampires are those individuals who seem to suck the life out of every room they enter. They're often negative, complaining about everything under the sun, and rarely offer solutions or positivity. Spending time with an energy vampire can leave you feeling exhausted and overwhelmed, which is the last thing anyone needs after 70. Let's talk about how to handle these challenging personalities next. The third type of toxic relative we need to talk about is the energy vampire. These are the people who leave you feeling completely drained after spending time with them. You know the kind, always complaining, focusing on the negative, and rarely offering any solutions or positivity. Maybe it's a sister who calls every week just to vent about her problems without ever asking how you're doing, or a neighbor who drops by unannounced to share yet another tale of woe. While it's natural to want to be supportive, constantly absorbing someone else's negativity can take a toll on your mental and emotional health. So what can you do about an energy vampire? The first step is recognizing when you're being pulled into their vortex of negativity. If you notice yourself starting to feel tense, frustrated, or overwhelmed during conversations with this person, that's a red flag. From there, it's important to set boundaries in a way that feels compassionate but firm. For example, if they start venting endlessly, you might say, "I hear you, and I'm here for you, but I also need to focus on staying positive right now." Redirecting the conversation towards something lighter can sometimes help too. Ask them about their hobbies, travels, or anything that brings them joy. It might encourage them to shift gears as well. If all else fails, it's okay to limit your interactions with energy vampires. Protecting your peace doesn't mean abandoning loved ones, but it does mean knowing when enough is enough. Now let's move on to the fourth type of toxic relative, the manipulator. Manipulators are masters at twisting situations to suit their needs, often leaving others feeling confused or taken advantage of. This could be a grandchild who guiltily asks for money under the guise of needing help with school expenses, or a sibling who insists you sign over property because it's what mom would have wanted. Manipulative behavior can be subtle, making it hard to spot until you're already caught in their web. And once you're entangled, it can feel nearly impossible to break free. Dealing with a manipulator requires clarity and strength. Start by trusting your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't rush into decisions, no matter how much pressure they apply. Instead, take your time to think things through. Consult trusted friends or advisors, and seek professional guidance if necessary. When communicating with a manipulator, stick to facts rather than emotions. For example, instead of saying, "You're always trying to trick me," calmly state, "I need more information before I can make a decision." By keeping your responses direct and logical, you reduce their ability to sway you with emotional appeals. Remember, you have every right to stand your ground and protect your interests. Next up is the fifth type of toxic relative, the drama magnet. Drama magnets thrive on chaos and conflict. They seem to attract trouble wherever they go, and often drag others into their messes. Perhaps it's a niece who's constantly embroiled in disputes with coworkers, landlords, or partners, or a brother who creates family feuds over trivial matters. Being around a drama magnet can feel like walking through a minefield. You never know when the next explosion will occur. And while some people genuinely struggle to manage their lives, others use drama as a way to keep themselves at the center of attention. Handling a drama magnet can be tricky, especially if they're close family members. One approach is to avoid getting emotionally invested in their issues. Instead of jumping in to solve their problems, offer neutral support by saying things like, "That sounds tough. I hope things work out soon." Keep your distance from unnecessary conflicts and resist the urge to mediate or referee their disputes. If they try to involve you in their drama, gently steer the conversation elsewhere. For instance, you might say, "Let's focus on something positive today. How was your weekend?" Over time, limiting your engagement may encourage them to seek healthier outlets for their energy. Now that we've covered the energy vampire, the manipulator, and the drama magnet, let's transition to the final type of toxic relative, the boundary bulldozer. Boundary bulldozers are individuals who disregard personal limits and push their way into areas of your life where they don't belong. Whether it's a son-in-law who insists on redecorating your home without permission, or a friend who shows up uninvited and expects you to entertain them, these people fail to respect your autonomy. Living with someone who ignores your boundaries can make you feel disrespected and powerless, which is why addressing this issue is so crucial. When dealing with a boundary bulldozer, communication is key. Be clear and specific about what behaviors you find unacceptable and why. For example, you might say, "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'd prefer if you asked before making changes to my space." Reinforce your boundaries consistently, even if it means repeating yourself multiple times. It's also helpful to establish consequences for repeated violations. If a relative continues to ignore your wishes despite your efforts to communicate, it might be time to reconsider how much access they have to your life. After all, setting boundaries isn't about punishing others. It's about creating a safe and peaceful environment for yourself. We'll wrap up our discussion in the next part by summarizing these points and offering some final thoughts on protecting your peace. But before we get there, let's reflect on what we've learned so far. Recognizing toxic behaviors in relatives is the first step towards safeguarding your happiness. By understanding the dynamics of guilt trippers, constant critics, energy vampires, manipulators, drama magnets, and boundary bulldozers, you're better equipped to navigate challenging relationships. Let's finish strong by tying everything together and leaving you with some actionable advice moving forward. Stay tuned. Now that we've explored the 6 types of toxic relatives, guilt trippers, constant critics, energy vampires, manipulators, drama magnets, and boundary bulldozers, it's important to take a step back and reflect on what all of this means for you. At this stage in life, your peace of mind should be non-negotiable. You've earned the right to enjoy your days without unnecessary stress or negativity weighing you down. Recognizing these toxic behaviors is not about labeling people as bad or cutting them out cold turkey. It's about empowering yourself to make choices that align with your well-being. One thing I want to emphasize is that setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop caring about your family or friends. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Boundaries are an act of love for yourself and for those around you. When you clearly communicate what you need to feel safe and respected, you're modeling healthy behavior. And who knows? Your courage might inspire others to reflect on their actions and grow as individuals. But even if they don't change, that's okay. What matters most is how you feel when you're around them. If someone continues to disrespect your boundaries despite your best efforts, it may be time to limit your interactions with them. Remember, protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's essential. Another key takeaway is that small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to overhaul every relationship overnight. Start by identifying one person in your life whose behavior consistently drains you. Then, think about one small step you can take to create distance or set a boundary. It could be as simple as saying no more often, excusing yourself from conversations that turn negative, or spending less time with someone who leaves you feeling uneasy. Over time, these little shifts add up, creating space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Of course, navigating tricky relationships can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially after 70. Life has taught us that family dynamics are complicated and old patterns can be hard to break. But here's the good news. You're stronger than you think. You've lived through decades of challenges, joys, losses, and triumphs. That resilience is still within you, ready to guide you through whatever comes next. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, whether it's close friends, supportive neighbors, or even new acquaintances who share your interests. Building a community of positivity doesn't happen overnight, but every effort counts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Have you encountered any of these toxic behaviors in your own life? How have you handled them? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'm sure your stories will resonate with others and maybe even spark some helpful advice. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more content designed to help you live your best life at any age. We cover everything from relationships to health tips, all tailored to seniors like you who deserve nothing less than happiness and fulfillment. Finally, let me leave you with this thought. Life after 70 is precious, and every moment matters. Don't waste your energy on people who dim your light. Instead, focus on surrounding yourself with those who bring joy, laughter, and love into your world. Whether it's spending quality time with grandchildren, pursuing hobbies that ignite your passion, or simply enjoying quiet mornings with a cup of tea, prioritize what makes your heart sing. Here's to living your best life at any age, and to protecting your peace so you can savor every beautiful moment along the way. Thank you for watching, and remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and boundless happiness. See you in the next video.